The Supreme Court's term will actually begin with the question of whether it is legal to fire someone because they are gay or transgender. And if it surprises you that this is actually an unsettled question, gay rights leaders want you to know married on Sunday, fired on Monday is a possibility in more than half of the United States where there is no specific protection for gay or transgender workers. The states that prohibit discrimination are not uniform. Some protect only gender identity or transgender status, and some differentiate between public and private employment. And now we're talking about this because of 3 cases where people say they were fired for their sexual orientation or gender identity. Those 3 cases going to the Supreme Court. And the issue for the court is the reach of Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, which besides protecting against workplace discrimination because of race, of course, also prohibits discrimination because of sex. Now, the Trump administration says discrimination on the basis of sexual orientation does not violate Title VII. And interestingly enough, this actually puts the Trump administration at odds with the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, which decided in 2015 that gay and transgender individuals were federally protected.
So I have a different opinion on this. So first of all, on the policy, it's outrageous and inhumane. And what happened? I thought you guys believed in equality and liberty, and you pretend that you believe in the ideals of America. And then when it comes to gay Americans, you're like, yeah, but they should have less rights than me. So that is a fundamentally un-American position. But on Title VII, it does not talk about sexuality, it talks about sex and gender. And so I think that actually this leads to a weird situation where I think folks in the transgender community have an excellent case to make that Title VII does protect them. But if you're in the lesbian and gay community, I don't think it does legally. So yeah, and the intent and different legal experts and judges have different opinions on whether the intent of the people who wrote the law matters or not. I think it does matter. In their case, they clearly did not intend it for the LGBT community because at that time, almost all the states or the great majority of states banned being gay, period. It was illegal. And so that was not what they intended with Title VII. That is my legal opinion, which is completely different than my opinion on policy, okay? And so that's important. But I don't think you need Title VII. Let me read the 14th Amendment for you guys. I don't know why this doesn't end it immediately. Maybe smarter legal minds than me would know, but in the 14th Amendment, it says, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor deny to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws. So I think that you can get to the same conclusion just by using the 14th Amendment, or you could be a decent human being. Okay, right? But Title VII does have that problem, in my opinion. So, but obviously I want to.
So it needs to be mapped out and then added. But right, you're saying
so
you
the
still
problem
can't
is
fire people, right?
Yes. So now so the courts have trouble saying yes, Title VII covers it. Some courts do anyway. Right. They say original intent doesn't matter. I'm going to interpret sex as including the LGBT community in my interpretation of it. Legally, I don't agree with that opinion. They're getting to the right conclusion, but I think in the wrong way. But to Brooke's point, what should actually happen is they should just add it to Title VII. They should add protection for gay Americans to Title VII. Why don't they? Because the Republicans don't want to.
And I was going to say, is that a feasible possibility with this Supreme Court?
The Supreme Court's not the issue here because
right.
Congress can just say, oh, by the way, we're putting an amendment onto Title VII, which is a law. And so we're adding a law onto it, not a constitutional amendment, an amendment to the bill. And now it protects gay Americans. And so the Democrats would do that tomorrow. And in this case, corporate Democrats and progressive Democrats are on the same team. This is the one thing where, not the only thing, but one of the areas where establishment Democrats are great. They're also in favor of gay rights. All the Democrats would vote, almost all the Democrats would vote yes in a second. The Republicans are like, I don't know about that. So if you're a gay American and you're not sure which party's on your side, well, I mean, you're literally ignorant because there's a definitive answer. The Republicans are not on your side.
Yeah, and this is just like a hallmark of the Trump administration. Like, I remember right after he first was sworn in, every day there would be headlines and I'd just go, that's not illegal? How is that not illegal? Why would anyone make that legal? Like, this makes no sense. And like, just in terms of like the way that you were saying, like interpreting that law, it's like, yeah, when it says people, I feel like progressive people would interpret that as humans, whereas I feel like conservatives would interpret that as straight white males.
No, that's 100%. Look, guys, this is why progressives are more American than conservatives. So go ahead, have your heads explode. But my point is not that we're any more of a citizen than you are. We're all 100% citizens, although that drives conservatives crazy, right? Oh, gay people now get to have the same rights as I do? Yeah, that's called America. Oh, Muslims? Oh, people who are naturalized citizens, you get to have the same right just because you're a citizen? Yes, that's the whole point of the country. That's what I mean. It's not that you're less of a citizen. It's not that you have any less rights. You just don't believe in America as much as we do.
You know what I'm struggling with, because I completely get what you're saying, and I know where you stand, but just like the legal right, because I always try to like put myself in like that position, and if race weren't so clearly in that, like how would it, if I would want everyone to just be interpreting it that way regardless. Like right way, wrong way, there's no wrong way to give me my full civil rights.
Yeah.
And so that's.
Yeah, it's the same thing with Roe versus Wade, and I get it, and it's a perfectly legitimate argument, but I happen to disagree with it. Okay. So Roe v. Wade, I think, is decided wrong, and I love it as policy. I think it's nearly perfect as policy. I wish they passed it as a law. It talks about first trimester, the woman clearly has rights. The last trimester, if the fetus is now viable and can exist outside the womb, it's an independent human being and has constitutional rights. I think that makes perfect sense. The middle trimester is a balancing act, but overall the woman still has the rights because it's not viable. It's nearly perfect law, but the Supreme Court is not supposed to make law, and the Constitution doesn't say anything about trimesters. So legally, I would vote that Roe versus Wade is wrong. But if I was a legislator, I'd be like, let's pass that law right away. But unfortunately, we have gridlock and we have the Republican Party in this country. So they would not agree to Roe versus Wade being a law. They would not agree to giving gay Americans the same rights as straight Americans. So like guys like Peter Thiel, who is a billionaire investor in Silicon Valley, and he supports Donald Trump. He advocated for Donald Trump in the election. He's doing fundraisers for the worst Republicans in America, the ones that want to deny people the right to vote. Chris Kobach, who's so against all immigrants, not just undocumented immigrants, and wants to deny black people the right to vote, and culture's there, etc. Peter Thiel happens to be gay, but he's like, even though they hate me and they will not even pass the simplest thing. Hey, let's amend Title VII so it's super clear you cannot discriminate against gay Americans at work. Peter, you have he runs his own place, so that's easier for him, right? But he's like, I don't care. I don't care how much they discriminate against me. I'm greedy. I want tax cuts. So tax cuts are more important than being an American, being decent, even to people like me. So it's just greed that drives them. But the Republican Party is wrong on all of these issues and un-American on all these issues.
And how scary is it that like an issue that seems like it should be very obvious which way it should go, that we don't know what the Supreme Court is gonna say. And we can only hope that John Roberts cares about his legacy enough to make the right call,
Yeah, and just to get back to Brooke's point for one last point. So Brooke, that's why I sympathize with your point. Right. I think Roe versus Wade is decided wrong, but on the other hand, it got to the right place, right? And it was so critical. Otherwise, how many more women would have died, et cetera? And we can't get the Republican Party to agree to decency. So the Supreme Court went in that way. Legally wrong, but it helped millions of Americans across this country, that decision. That's why it's a struggle. It's a struggle to come to the right moral position, no matter what your legal position is. Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.